So this is the second part of the video to go through the Milestone 2 template from week 3 of IHP 525. Okay, so we have our key features for our quantitative variable in this last column right here. Okay. So let's go down the template. I don't have any other variables, so I'm just going to leave these blank. I'm not going to delete the rows. I'm just not going to leave them blank. Okay. I'm not going to lift, don't cut and paste your statistics tables, okay? Plug them in like we did, like we copied and pasted them above in the individual spots, okay? Now we're looking at the question called data collection, okay? It says examine the statistical report description, again, found in the Module 3 Milestone rubric or the announcements to find the source of the data, okay? The data we are using, again, this is your myocardial infarction data, not my candy data. The data we are using is a smaller subset of the original data. How do you think this subset was sampled from the larger set? Please give a reason for your answer. So, for example, do you think the author of our data set took a random sample of the original data? Do you think he, just picked the last 100? Do you think he did a systematic sample, like picked every 10th? What do you think he did? Look at your data, compare it to where the data, the broader source of the data, and see what you can come up with. And then you put your answer here in green. It says answer here. Okay. Now we're going to look at the limitations. Okay. Now here are a few bullet points to help you with your limitations. So first, you're going to limit your response to the data relevant to your question of interest. For example, if BMI is not part of my question, I'm not going to discuss BMI in my answer. Okay? So here's some things to help you along. Okay? Using only 2 variables in the data set, okay, is not a limitation of the data in your question of interest. Okay? It might be a limitation of the study or of the question itself, but it's not a statistical limitation of the data you've been provided here. Don't discuss that, oh, I wish we had this variable and that variable. And there's a couple more data points about that. Like, a lot of you are healthcare professionals and you want to get all this other nursing or medical data. We're not looking at that. We're looking at statistical limitations. So don't discuss the fact that you don't have comorbidities here or there's other missing patient information. Okay? Those might be limitations of the study or of the question of interest, but they're not statistical limitations of the data you've been provided. Okay. Another thing that we're not going to talk about here is other treatment information is not appropriate to discuss. Or you might wanted other, what other treatments did these patients have, but that's not what we're looking for here. Again, that could be a limitation of the data you've been provided. It's not a limitation of the data we're using for this study, the 2 variables you're looking at. So what are some possible limitations? Well, you can consider any outliers and how they could affect the analysis, if there are any. Okay. You can consider the scope of data collection, like the time frame, location, and the question of interest. Is the sample adequate to answer the general question of interest? You only need 1 clear limitation. Okay. I'm going to write 2 just because I'm working through the template to give you some examples, but you only need 1 clear limitation. I have an outlier. The outlier could lower the means and increase the standard deviations unduly. And also, you don't know this, I'm telling you this, I got the M&M data from 1 bag of M&Ms. So 1 bag of candy is not sufficient to analyze the overall population of this candy. Right? 1 bag is not going to do it because 1 bag came from 1 specific machine that came from 1 specific factory. we don't know what all the other candy was doing. So really, you know, if you're really looking at this, you'd want several bags of candy from all over where this candy is sold, from different factories, different machines in the factory, different transportation systems, things like that. Okay. And that is the end of the template. Okay. Hopefully you've been pausing these videos and then working through your data so that you can kind of follow along similarly. Okay. Best of luck.